we talked about this last time. Goes to Badlands. I have to ask, just what has been your experience with this? I mean, this. You guys, nearly $350,000 is a massively successful crowdfunding campaign with you and George. So if you could, just for the audience, maybe that they may have been living under a rock, they don't know much about this. Can you give us some more information on the campaign that you ran itself, as well as the stage that it's at now? Because you guys, I know, are near completion with inks.
Yeah, we're like two pages away or something like that. Like he's literally by the end of the week, this thing's going to be done. And we're going to be able to go to print and stuff. I mean, obviously, we're going to go back and have like a redraw phase on certain panels and all the standard stuff that you do with comics. But yeah, it was crazy. Like I had never done a crowdfunding thing, and this thing blew up. I cut it off. We probably could have done twice as much.
Oh yeah,
in
for
terms
sure.
of raising
Absolutely.
money as we did, but I cut it off because I was like, as soon as we can, I want to get working on this.
Yeah.
Like I want to get it going. And plus I kind of wanted people to know my word is my bond. When
Makes sense.
the thing's done, it's done.
Yeah.
And if you want to get in on it, well, next time, don't miss the campaign, right? That's kind of the way I looked at it. They got to be able to trust that what you say is going to happen.
For sure.
So I cut it off early. I mean, it blew up. I have nothing to complain about there, but yeah, it just seemed to strike a note. I think people are ready for Westerns.
Yeah.
I've said before, like 2024 is starting to feel like the year of the Western a little bit. There's Martin Scorsese is making a Western.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ridley Scott's making a Western. Christian Bale's starring in Westerns. Tom Cruise about to star in a Western. Like everybody's making Westerns all of a sudden. And of course, the big Kevin Costner epic Horizon that they're working on. So we kind of struck before the iron was hot.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes if people are digging it. But I kind of future-proofed it a little bit because I wanted it to be a different kind of Western. I didn't want it to be the standard, just, cowboys, bandits, Indians, that kind of stuff.
Right.
Although those wonderful things are in the comic. But I wanted to bring back that kind of goosebumps and chills feeling that you get when you see Clint Eastwood ride out of the high desert in High Plains Drifter, or something like that, like Pale Rider when he rides out of the Smoky Mountains, that kind of elemental sort of thing where the Old West is almost like an analog for Original Sin or something.
Yeah.
So we kind of steered into that. It's a gothic Western. It's an elemental sort of divine retribution Western. And it's just this side of a Christian comic.
Yeah.
It's a heavy religious themes.
Yeah.
So.
No, that's what's up. And again, I remember when this popped off, it was cool to see you and George teaming up on this project and being able to, see the enthusiasm for something that, we know that a lot of the superhero stuff has been what has people, they lean towards that. And this is a different genre, right? That it is that you're doing, but it's seeing a lot of success. So it shows that people are, of course, still thirsty for comics, and it doesn't necessarily need to be or have to be a specific genre that is going to be what sees a lot of success. So when you saw this exploded in the way that it did, was it one of those things where you're like, okay, well, I need to get to doing more of these types of graphic novels, whether it be of any genre? Is it something that you want to really just keeping on with and really keep creating and publishing?
Yeah, I mean, I immediately got inspired in the first wave of writing this thing. So the second volume, if this one does well enough when it launches, it looks like it's going to do pretty well. Then second volume's already written.
Oh, beautiful.
And I'm ready to go on through. And the second volume's longer than the first one, which, by the way, the first one's no slouch. It's 104 pages. It's
this is a big book.
Big old book. Yeah. So, and the second one is... So George expands my scripts. So we started out on this one with 65 pages. He blew that up to 104 because he likes to give the story room to breathe, which is exactly the right thing for a comic artist to do.
That's what they're supposed to do. Yeah.
I should mention, by the way, I started out being a comic book artist, not a writer. So I kind of write it that way. Like I write it in a way where it's like, okay, I let them fill in the blanks they need to, because comics should be driven from the art end, in my opinion. Not the writing end so much. That's an inversion of American comics, by the way. They don't work that way anymore. The writers are dictators.
Yeah.
And the artists are basically slaves. So yeah, I kind of looked at that, and the new one is like 86, almost 90 pages written.
So that means it's going to be a massive book once George
probably,
gets his hands on
yeah,
it.
probably it'll be a little bit longer, but we'll see. There might be some stuff that gets cut out. But yeah, definitely more Ghost of the Badlands for sure. Because I looked at this kind of like, approached it sort of like an old pulp, kind of like Night Vale, like I did with Night Vale, where every single one is its own self-contained story, but slowly over time, we move the overarching narrative forward as we do that. So every volume's got a beginning, middle, and end, but the characters change by the end, and we get to see them evolve as time goes on. The same way pulps were written back in the 30s and 40s.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So, yeah, again, it's been really cool to see this explode in the way that it did, and I'm really proud to hear or glad to hear that you are going to be continuing on. How has it been working with, George? Man, this guy is such a underrated, even though, yeah, he gets a lot of respect. He does those little comic strips and people love him for it. But, man, his range and how he's able to do things, man, how has it been like working with such a talented artist like him?
Yeah, it was wild. I forget even exactly how we came into contact with each other, but he wound up illustrating Death Mask, my second book. And he did an unbelievable job. If you want to see him really in effect, go pick up that book because it's got a lot of illustrations by him and they're awesome. And when I was working with him, he had seen my art style because I did some illustrations in the first book and I did a few in the second. And he was like, and so I kind of gave him an idea of, okay, it's sort of a crosshatchy kind of a pulp thing. That's sort of what my style looks like. And so he kind of took a little bit of that. He still draws like himself,
right? But
he took a little bit of that style and he just kind of created this sort of look. And I thought it looked awesome. And I think he did too.
Yeah.
And it turned into basically the style that he's doing here in Ghost of the Badlands. The guy's just shockingly talented. And I say this is a comic artist. The guy's freaking bang on. So I could have drawn, like I said, I could have drawn this if I had lots and lots of time to do this, but I love collaborating and he's just shockingly, stunningly talented.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to head over to rippaverse.com to check out our comic book company. We have books, plenty of merchandise, and even some glorious animations from Rippaverse Studios. Next up, possibly our most anticipated book thus far, Yaira.